guys, at the same time that we are confronting resistance on the 4 hour, the daily is losing support. And at the same time that the ETFs have been buying for 3 consecutive days, the hedge funds are shorting just like never before. Something is really cooking at this point. People are blaming BlackRock and are saying, welcome to Wall Street Bitcoin, manipulation 2.0. In today's video, we're gonna dig and understand what the heck is going on. I'm particularly interested in this very large long that opened at market price. I'm gonna show you all the times that happened in the past and what was the outcome of that. Guys, if this is the type of content that you like to watch, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I put out one of these videos. And if you feel like supporting the channel, watch the video until the very end and do not go anywhere without leaving a comment down below. That's really helping the channel to continue growing. What you're seeing here is the taker buy sell ratio, specifically on Bybit. The taker is when you do a market order as opposed to a limit order, implying that you just take the price of the market. When the ratio of the taker, the buy versus the sell, goes way into the green areas like here, it means that there is a lot of buying at market prices. These are people that are just wanting to enter as quick as possible. They cannot afford to wait for a limit order. And what you see across the whole bull market is that only happened in January 12 in 2023 when they were chasing the first initial bullish move from the bottom of the bear market. Then we see something here in August. There's a few in June and in here, and the largest one is in October 2023. And what we can see is that typically after large moves like this, the price tends to react by buying those moves. Even if you think that this taker buy ratio here is not as big as this one, as you can see, it ended up influencing this move that you saw immediately after. In here, you see a massive ratio once again. And since October 2023, we haven't had anything that crosses this line, with the exception of what we are seeing just now, something in June. That is almost 8 months after that we haven't had any single spike in the ratio of takers. So the question is, will this spike in taker buy be enough to ignite another move to the upside and eventually getting the shorts liquidated? We don't know. In some occasions, there's a big taker buy and the price still moves a little bit lower. So it's not always guaranteed. What we can say is that most of the times you see a move to the upside. What will be really bullish is to see a little bit of pullback here in the price and just another attempt to buy as a taker. That will confirm that these tricky people are using market orders to enter very quickly into the market without telling anybody of their intentions. When they do so, those orders do not appear here in the order book. They just go straight getting filled, which I think is pretty bullish. Here we have the 4-hour time frame. And as you can see, after we broke this channel to the downside, we started seeing the momentum lost on the 4-hour. We had a little bit of a fake out bullish here that we never believed it was going to take us very far. And right after that, went all the way to 40 and now it's confronting resistance. So this is particularly exciting because it has made a move from 73 to 40 and now we are challenging the resistance. So this could lead us to a decent breakout to the upside. But let's evaluate the situation. Let's look at the daily as well. On the 4-hour, you can see that after we broke with this last flag, we had the breakout, but the target barely got hit. We should have moved at least at 75K. Instead of that, we barely made it to 72. At 72, Killer Whale were waiting for us just to short. During those days, we were watching their moves and we were speculating whether we are going to be able to break across that wall of selling pressure. And in fact, it was a coincidence, but with the live stream of Roaring Kitty, precisely at that point when they halted trading on GameStop, the price made a move from 72K all the way to 68.4. At 68.5, we were hunting the liquidity thanks to us being aware of this CME gap. I never put my order at the end of the CME gap. I tend to place it halfway through if I find a fair value gap there. I got really lucky because not in all the exchanges the price made it to 68.5, but I managed to fill my order and close at 69.3. Very quick swing move, and that's how I like trading CME gaps. Unfortunately, this weekend the CME gap by Sunday it was already filled, so we don't have much to play with in terms of CME gaps. On the daily, we are seeing that the momentum is once again curving to the right hand side, which means that we are losing momentum on the daily. Relative to these top levels here, we have lower highs in the other side. That's a bearish divergence. And at the same time, we can see that we are falling from this trend line on the other side. The day is not closed, but the closing here once again reduces that bullish momentum that we had when we managed to get to 72. So I'm observing very closely the price action, and I think Bitcoin has a very tiny bit of momentum left. And with the longs, I believe that that's quite a bullish move that we are seeing in the market. So in summary, we are seeing on the 4-hour this breakout here. We could be targeting the 74K if this breaks out right from here, but we could also see a rejection just because at this point in time, the price is battling against bearish divergences, which in fact we have 8 on the daily, just as many as on the 20th of May. And I'm not saying we cannot win against the bearish divergences, but I'm saying that our contender is quite a strong arm to bend. On our side, I remind you that we are in capitulation in terms of the hash ribbons. The hash ribbons on the weekly pretty much always gets it right. Sometimes there is some drawdown, but in practice, if you have enough patience and you play this on spot, the price tends to continue going higher. The things that are worrying me the most at the moment is the Nasdaq and the S&P. I really want to see what's going to happen, number one, with the bearish divergences that it continues printing, but also with losing the momentum on the daily. We have had similar moves around November past year, where we lost momentum, we print bearish divergences, but the price against all odds continue going higher. And even if it curved here, it got bought up once again, and it managed to make new all-time highs. Very similar story with the Nasdaq, and the question is for how long it's going to just continue rallying almost in a parabolic way against the trend line, never taking a breather larger than one single-digit percent correction. You can see that the VIX, the volatility index on the S&P, it's entering the hottest area in the chart. In this area here is where we are about to enter a squeeze. We're talking that in no longer than half a year, we need to see an explosive move in a similar magnitude as COVID or 2028 in February, or what we saw in the middle of the bear market in March 2022. Doesn't need to be to the downside. Another bullish news is that the ETFs for the past 3 days have been full of inflows. They seem to be buying so much. The bad news is how come they're buying so much and the price is still not moving up? And people are starting to speculate around there whether this is some sort of manipulative move from BlackRock. Maybe they're just taking the money from the retail and just parking the cash there and manipulating the price of Bitcoin by shorting it. We started seeing this picture all over the place in social media showing an all-time high in CME leverage shorts coming from hedge funds. Typically, when you see such a big exposure in shorts, I remind you that we are also at the same time doing all-time highs in terms of open interest. So this is in confluence with this chart at least, and having such a huge exposure in shorts can be one of two things. Either they know something and the market is really gonna crash and they're expecting to take advantage of that and they will manage to do so, or they're just going to get it wrong and they're going to end up getting a massive big short squeeze trigger just by the amount of liquidity that there is above 70K. We're gonna look into the order book later in the video to see what's the case, how much dry powder there is at the top of the order book, and what is the risk that they are exposed at the moment. Sometimes, even if a market has lost momentum, the price can still go high just to take the liquidity from the shorts, and then ultimately the price continues going down still. On the weekly, the momentum is to the downside. We have here an early sign telling us that we are entering for just another leg to the upside thanks to the stochastic RSI on the weekly. Today is Monday. You can see that we are once again risking for the stochastic RSI to eventually close this new week as a bearish cross. At the same time, the RSI is starting to curve down here to the downside. Last week, we talked about this inverse head and shoulders on the weekly, and we say that we needed to close above 70. The good news is, yes, we closed above 70, in fact, 70.01. It couldn't be more perfect. And right now, this week, we are pushing down. So it's a very humble breakout, if you want. I wouldn't call this really a breakout of the neck that was located around 70. I would say we need to wait for the weekly in here to start pointing up at the very least. The two things that we have against the odds of this breakout to the upside on the weekly is that we are on a channel to the downside, and this is the first leg up after the dump, a rejection from a potential future top channel level that we still don't know where it's going to be placed. So I think all eyes in this particular chart at the moment, at least for another week. And if you want to know an update on where is located the level for support, now since this level continues going higher, right now is located between 58 and 59. Let's go to the price and let's update these levels. So the lower is 58 and the highest is 59. You can see that that's between 63.8 and 64.5. Breaking below that is most likely going to hurt the speed that we are going towards a potential new all-time high. In the worst case, not getting another all-time high in this cycle. I know this is just a technical, it's not my forecast, but it's the way to interpret this data. Since we have this last move from Roaring Kitty sell out, we have been in a very constricted range in the past few days. We are leaving liquidity above 69.8 and below it we have immediate liquidity at 68.2. We still continue seeing some wells depositing into exchanges, but we have definitely slowed down from what we saw on the 28th of May. Withdrawals haven't increased. That means that all that has been deposited is there with a finger in the trigger ready to sell. The thing that we don't know is when do they want to sell all this amount of inflows that there has been recently in all those exchanges. At the same time, our friends, the long-term holders, which typically know what to do in the market, are just continuing to go sideways, not any significant moves, no buys, no sells. And since the Roaring Kitty sell out from 72K, we left a big chunk of liquid at 72. Before that happened, we knew that many people were willing to sell 72K. We monitor that live on Twitter. If you want to stay up to date with this sort of information, make sure that you're following me on my Twitter account. My handle is Trading Parrot. So yeah, there's a lot of liquidity here, and that's going to act like a magnet. We don't know if that's going to succeed, and we are starting to see in many exchanges fluctuations of the funding rates going into negative. In a bull market, that typically means that there are too many shorts and that they're getting too exposed, and it tends to be a good time to buy, at least for a short swing to the upside. We're also going to look into certain information that might help us understand what's going on with all this shorting. You can see that from the 11th of January, the shorts have increased almost exponentially here. The net shorts have gone to 7 billion, whereas the longs are decreasing and they are barely at 2.3 billion. And this, my friends, is what is constricting the price. That is increasing the open interest to the highest level in history for Bitcoin. At the same time, we are seeing BlackRock declaring buys for 800 million, 500 million, 400 million, which is a lot, and they're buying on spot. So we at the same time see the open interest going higher and the net shorts increasing parabolically. This is just disgusting amount of shorts. The only exchange where I'm finding the funding rates consistently going into the negative is on OKX. If I go to all exchanges, everything looks green, and any other exchange that I select, for example Binance, they're also in the green. When we look into FAR charts, we can see as well that after these people wanting to sell at 72, which we talk about during the channel, while we were at 72, we were thinking, are we really going to be able to get above this? This is a huge amount of selling, and they have left. Not all of them, but at least a little bit less than half of them, and the whales of up to 1 million are starting to buy, whereas the largest whales haven't yet started buying as big as they were selling from the time we were at 72K. And that's pretty much why the price remained stagnant. Let's now look at the order book, and I'm not really sure if this is a glitch in the chart here, but the open interest made a move down just today of an 8% and then it recovered there. I really don't know what sort of manipulation they're doing. Right now the shorts are dominating, at least what we can see in the delta here. The last guys to get liquidated were the longs, and the most significant levels are located at 73K as usual, and we are starting to see some new orders 67 that are willing to buy with 748, and those orders most likely moved up from 66 to 67. This is showing a change in sentiment. We also see a big chunk here of orders protecting the price at these levels. All of this can be manipulative, but if it stays there as the price comes into it, it could indicate that they are really interested in buying. High Block Capital is showing that the short-term delta is currently at 323, exposing the shorts, and the most immediate level loaded with liquidity is 71, followed by 72. The last 30 days on CoinGlass, again we have 72. This is fresh liquidity because the price went there and new shorts open new positions at 72. But we also have a little bit at 70 and another little bit at 71. As we say over the weekend, we are here flickering between being in Bitcoin season and in nowhere's land. I encourage you to watch my video from Saturday. That was a live stream and I cover most of the coins that were outperforming Bitcoin. The Bitcoin dominance is running above the support against all odds and against the momentum, as we can see here below, is very quickly starting to curve as it approaches this level as resistance. We will have to see if when it gets to an RSI of 61, it's going to be able to turn this into a fake out, or if it's going to get rejected once again there. At the moment it gets a rejection from this RSI, the alt should have a decent move to the upside. Guys, if you want to trade with a decent exchange, have a look at the link in the description. I have a link for OKX and it's offering up to 60,000 USDT as a price pool. And if you don't want to do KYC or if you don't have access to it where you live, have a look at the exchange. BingX is offering 6,000 in rewards. Again, the link is in the description. And one last thing before I let you go, I told you on Saturday that I sold my BNB when I noticed it was going into an all-time high. And there might be an opportunity here because I've seen that the price is coming down and potentially testing this pattern support. You can see that on the RSI, that's the same case, testing the 53 on the daily RSI. If we see that this bounces here, potentially we can start seeing another push to higher levels of RSI in the BNB coin. I'm closely monitoring that because I might re-enter in my position with BNB after having taken profits on the 5th of June at around $700. Let me know in the comments if you want me to review any coins and I will try to review it for tomorrow's video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.